In this video, we're going to use T Software to analyze how well the campaign, specifically paid campaign for Google Shopping and Google AdWords, is performing for this particular website. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Reports, Visitor Behavior, click on Engagement, and let me go through all of these different tabs first so you understand what each one does. This one shows you the visitors as well as the type of engagement we've seen from these visitors. So you can see success, excellent, good, average, poor, and none. I turned none off just now. This also combines for all the campaigns which creative produced the most amount of successful sales, engagements, which website specifically was the best referrer, and how many sales it resulted, and which keywords produced the traffic and which keywords are resulting in sales. And you can turn these things on and off, and you can click on different ads to see the performance of that specific ad. You can click on specific referrers and see the performance of them. So it's a very interactive chart. Page views, it's the same idea, but page views, this shows you the average page views for different kinds of engagement, the time on the website for different kinds of engagements, the kind of bounce rate that you experience. Keep in mind that you could really put a campaign under a microscope by saying, I only want to see AdWords and I only want to see that creative to see how it's performing. Visitors by day shows you how many visitors and also how many successful sales that you get throughout this date range on a day-by-day basis. And we'll go into why you need all this information. Visitors by hour, and again, it also shows you sales by the hour and shows you which hour produced what sales. This is the different hours within the day. So you could actually turn off, let's say on Monday, you could see what kind of engaged traffic you got on the specific day. So this only shows you high engagement traffic. A success rate shows you how many orders you're getting on a day-to-day basis and how many orders you actually have on average per engagement. What this is showing you is that for every 4 excellent engagements, you had approximately 2 orders completed. The reason why this particular line is here, this is just to kind of show you the health of the campaign. To make it easier to understand, there is a formula behind the scenes, and you just want to make sure that your green line is always above this blue flat line. So as long as you stay above it, that means that your campaign is healthy. And depending how high it is, obviously it'll say how healthy it is. Because what this does is it averages out all your traffic and all your campaigns to kind of give you an idea of how well your store is performing overall. So let's jump into some facts. Overall, the campaign is underperforming. If we're going to go to the dashboard just to kind of get an idea of the fluctuation of orders, we see that it's very volatile. Up and down, up and down. One day it's great, one day it's bad. And this is not normal. If you have steady traffic, which this store does, it's supposed to be a very flat line. It's not supposed to be volatile. So there is a problem in the campaign. And if we go to the visitor behavior and click on orders, we can actually just kind of see. You know how I said that your green line is always supposed to be above the flat line? So if we click on Google Shopping, we notice that Google Shopping is performing above the flat line, even though some days it doesn't. While Google AdWords is showing no orders, so it is true that AdWords actually produced 0 orders for this particular store. You could see that the organic traffic is producing below the average line. And if you also notice that the Google Shopping is the one that raised the bar for how well the store is supposed to convert. So both the organic traffic coming in and the AdWords is producing nothing at all is making the store underperform. So Google Shopping is the only one that's really doing any kind of damage. So let's analyze Google Shopping to begin with. If we look at the success ratio, we also see that it's not very stable. This is the success to engagement ratio. How many engagements did you get before a successful sale occurred? So in this case, it's 5 engagements before 1 sale occurred. This one says we needed to get 3 engagements before 2 sales occurred. So this gives you the detail on the bottom of what this means. Ultimately, what we're trying to see is how many engagements do we need before a sale occurs, which will allow us to estimate how much should we invest into good engaged traffic. We might say, well, you know what, Google Shopping is sending us so much good engaged traffic that maybe we should pay them more to get us more And if AdWords is sending us nothing at all, let's just shut it down completely and funnel all the money into Google Shopping. With Google Shopping, you'll also notice that if we're looking at it on an overall campaign, you also see it's not performing very well. It's kind of under the bar. If you notice that Google Shopping only, the bar has been raised to 5, ultimately meaning that we need 5 engagements before a sale will occur. Here we notice that we had 5 engagements and we had only 1 sale, while on this day we had 5 engagements and we had 5 sales. So the idea here is that we're buying the traffic at the wrong time, or something is happening. There's definitely a leak. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to say, let me see what's going on a hour-by-hour basis, right? So we're going to say, first of all, on what hour of the day, and we're going to take the whole week combined. Actually, we're not taking the whole week, we're taking the whole month. So for the whole month of September, here's how the orders played out. So all the orders came at 10 a.m. mostly, right? 85 orders. Then we had 24 orders came at 2 p.m. and then we had some at 7 p.m. Okay, when did our engagement occur? So if you notice, the engagement occurred at 8 a.m. So it started at 7 to 8. Then the engagement dropped and the orders started to come in. Obviously, you also see some engagement coming in at 10. And then there's even more engagement at 11. The orders dropped, then the engagement dropped. Then there's more engagement at 1, and then engagement dropped, but orders come in. You really have to kind of think deep on this one, because this product here is a refurbished electronics product for an automobile, which is usually purchased by, let's say, a repair shop. So a repair shop will come in the morning, 7 in the morning, and he's going to have an order that he needs to place for his customers for today or for tomorrow. So he goes online and he starts shopping, and then he's like, all right, I found it, and then he buys it. Then he goes and takes a break to have breakfast. 9 a.m., they have breakfast, right? And they come back from breakfast and they're like, all right, let's finish up the order. We got to place this and move on. So you see the engagement rising to the same level as the 8 a.m., but the orders start getting placed now. So my idea is that most of the order decisions will come into play between 7 and 8 a.m., which will then produce the orders at 10 a.m. If you did not know about the engagement, what's going to happen? You're going to stop bidding on keywords from 7 to 8 a.m., and obviously your sales at 10 a.m. are going to drop. Why? Because the people that made a decision to buy it at 10 a.m. actually made the decision at 7 and 8. You also notice that the decisions at 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., nobody even browses the site that are engaging. Now, doesn't mean nobody's browsing it, because if I'm going to say, show me bot traffic and average engagement, I mean, you do see some traffic coming in, but no one really serious, at least not from Google Shopping, if we're looking at Google Shopping specifically. Most of the orders get placed in the morning, and then you can see that some orders get placed at around 2 p.m., and again, we're looking at a month of traffic. And you notice that at 1 p.m., all the engagement occurs. So that kind of means that when somebody goes on lunch break, they actually use their lunch break to go and figure out what to buy for the order that they have decided in the morning, and then by 1 or 2, they finally make a decision. And then you have sales occurring at the end of the day. So first, this whole thing needs to be tested, because traffic between 12 and 7 a.m. I would totally shut down. It's not needed. So between 10 p.m. through, let's say, 6 a.m., I would just turn off altogether. I'm not sure how much money we're going to save here. But let's look at another idea here. If all the orders happen in the morning, and all the good traffic comes in between 3 and 6, what would happen if we were to take the budget from here and then redirect it to the morning? Or what if we left the budget alone and just spent more money in the morning? What exactly is going to happen? So it needs to be tested, but Google Shopping is not bad, because according to our ratio, it is performing, and even though it fluctuates up and down, right now, since September 15th, Google Shopping seems to be above the line and seems to be performing. So that's not a problem. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's see AdWords. If I see AdWords and I see what is the success rate for AdWords, I see that it all happened only on a Saturday. One Saturday, I had 1 sale, and that was pretty much it. However, I'm getting a lot of traffic from AdWords, including some no engagement bot traffic, that's producing nothing. So really, as a result of your AdWords campaign, we had 1 sale, and if we look at how much traffic we bought from AdWords, we're talking about 100 to about 400 clicks, which, $1 each could potentially come out to be 400, maybe even $1,000 for this particular traffic, and it produces nothing. So the question becomes, is it completely pointless, or is it benefiting us somehow, differently? So first thing we should see is how much engagement are we getting from it? Just say that the good engagement, excellent engagement is considered equal. I see that the engagement sometimes comes in, sometimes it doesn't. So if I say visitors by the hour, you notice that we're getting a lot of hits throughout the day. But guess what? If we look at Google Shopping, notice that all of our sales come in between 9 and 11. Throughout the day, we never have sales. So if we go back to AdWords, we notice that we're getting a bunch of engagement in the middle of the day, but it never results into a sale. Of course, we could always say that, okay, that individual came back to us later without AdWords. He came to us organically. That could potentially be a valid argument. And then if that is the case, then by shutting down AdWords altogether, our organic sales potentially could drop down. So again, all of it needs to be tested. There is no guarantee that by shutting down AdWords, all of a sudden we're going to save all this money. But one thing I would do, at least for a test, is take all of this traffic, and since it's not converting very well anyway, and we're not sure if it results in any kind of organic sales, let's put it to work at the best time of the day that we know about. So if we know that Google Shopping is producing us the most sales between 7 and 10 a.m., this is, when the sale decision is made, why don't we only bid on related words related to the, whatever the product we're selling during those hours with that same budget, and then see what's going to happen with the sales. If the sales ultimately increase and stabilizes how many sales you make per day, then we're on the right path at least. But additionally, if you notice the type of keywords people come in with, they're coming in with, and you can see which ones are engaging and which ones are not engaging, and they're like, how much is an injector? Where can I buy it? Best price. I mean, these doesn't look like someone who are ready to buy it now. It's looking more as in they're just price shopping. So maybe it's just bad keywords that we're bidding on, and like this one, I don't know. This is already for an agency to make a decision on and play around with what can be done. But the fact is that there is a problem with the campaign. Specifically on the AdWords side, we have high engagement, but we don't have, at least with AdWords, we don't have sales coming after the engagement. So you could see people engaging, and then as a result, you get only one sale. There's a definite problem here. Another interesting statistic that I wanted to show is that a lot of the sales are happening using a mobile device. Because if I turn the mobile device off, I don't even see any sales. But if I turn the mobile device on, the sales occur. Well, this was specifically for Google Shopping. And I think for Google AdWords, if I'm not mistaken, I think that they disabled the mobile. Did you notice that? Look, we have a success rate on the mobile, but no success rate on the desktop. This is actually interesting to see. If you shut down the bidding on desktop and only enable the bidding on mobile, will more sales occur because now we have a bigger budget for the mobile devices. So here's the conclusion I made after spending another 30 minutes just analyzing the data. And really the trick here is to see patterns and see trends, and the only way you're going to really see it is just by looking at different sets of data, turning it on and off, and something just will hit you and you'll have an aha moment. I'll just go through these 5 action steps that I'm going to recommend to take. Redirect AdWords budget specifically between 7 and 10 a.m. daily. The reason why I'm going to recommend that, because if we say show us AdWords by the hour, you'll notice that comparing it to Google Shopping, this is basically when the most sales can occur. At the moment, AdWords is producing no sales at all, so I'm hoping that by taking the budget and putting it into the hours where the most sales will occur, we may end up capturing the right kind of traffic. In addition, this particular ad is the one that's producing all the sales. The way I saw that is by doing AdWords and sorting it on the bottom here, and it looks like this particular one is driven by Google Shopping, and there's actually only one sale that happened on the AdWords itself, which is this ad. So one of the things that I also looked at is specifically how long the individual stayed on the site, see time on site before the sale occurred. So you can see that the good engagement is spending 2 minutes, the excellent engagement is spending about 6 minutes, which means that the good engagement is unlikely to convert because the excellent engagement is spending a lot more time. And for a sale to occur, you can see that it kind of skyrockets all the way up to 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So the good traffic is probably not going to convert, even though sometimes it's very close to the excellent, which means that it may convert. Ultimately, the decisions should be made that we should only buy excellent traffic, if anything. And if we look at Google AdWords and sort by excellent traffic, we'll see that there's only a number of ads that drive the excellent engagement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a screenshot and recommend that this is the only ones that we keep, and we can see what they are, and possibly just leave those because all these other ones is pretty much garbage. I would recommend to increase the budget for Google Shopping between 7 and 10. Again, mainly because if we go to Google Shopping and we say visitors by the hour, you'll notice that a lot of the sales occur at 10 a.m. And I believe that if we buy the traffic between these hours, and we can potentially save from 7 to, let's say, just 11, we might be able to push the success rate higher because this is where most of the sales occur during the day. I'm going to recommend to shut down all paid traffic between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., mainly because starting from 11 p.m. until 7 p.m. there's really no activity. We're looking at a month worth of data, so there's really no reason to even spend a penny on those because nothing is going to happen during these hours. However, poor engagement is not coming in, but average, poor, and none is coming in during those hours, even though it could be little. Still, there's no reason to buy it. I'm going to recommend to shut down traffic on Sunday altogether, mainly because there's never any sales on Sunday. So if we say, show me the success and the excellent and the good on Sundays, you'll see that there has never been any success on Sundays throughout the month, and it's very little excellent engagement. Now, the risk here is that this excellent engagement on Sunday might be coming to the site on Sunday but really making the purchase on Monday. It is possible. So that's something we just have to evaluate after it's shut down to see if the sales decrease or not on Mondays, especially on Google Shopping. That's where most of the sales are coming from on this particular paid campaign. And finally, I noticed that this particular site gets a lot of sales from mobile. So if we say, turn the mobile off, you'll see most of the sales are gone. First of all, mobile may be cheaper to buy traffic from, but in addition, if we just take the whole budget and turn off desktop and go mobile, the question is what's going to happen. So that's a test we need to run by redirecting the budget, especially on the AdWords side, to mobile only, and also seeing if we can separate the campaign for Google Shopping on mobile and increasing the budget there and see what the result will be, if sales will increase or not. So this is the recommendation on the paid campaign. And obviously, this particular customer is only doing Google Shopping. There's many more that we could do: Bing Shopping, the Find, the Next Tag, Price Grabber. So there's many more that we could potentially submit to. That's going to be the next step to increase sales. But before we go into any other marketplaces, we first need to nail down what we need to do with these marketplaces, optimize it, and then move forward. My final recommendation is that if you want to potentially optimize your campaign, you really have to just sit down on this chart and just play with it and turn things on and off and see a pattern. And if you can see a pattern, you'll be able to make a decision if you should optimize anything. Specifically, you need to be aware that excellent engagement leads to a successful sale. And if you can see a pattern of where the excellent engagement comes in before the sale occurs, and ultimately nail down to the specific creative or specific website or specific keyword that drives that traffic that converts, you can then allocate a bigger budget there by taking that out of another budget, a creative or keyword that's not converting, and ultimately increasing your conversions that way.